Yeah, hello, welcome to the Circuit of Vila. We're in Portugal, northeast of Porto, high in the Douro Mountains that supply Portugal's most famous fortified wine grapes for port. I'm Martin Haven, alongside me Matt Neal in the commentary position on this fast and demanding street circuit. Track temperature, Matt, now up to nearly 50 degrees, a long way north of where it was when we started this morning in qualifying and in free practice especially. And the man who starts our first race of the weekend on the DHL pole position, second pole of the season for Norbert Michels in the Hyundai.
That's right, Martin. Heat is always a factor here at Villarreal in central Portugal. The Hyundais have stepped up to the plate, and we've got an all Hyundai front row with Norbert Michels and Augusto Farfus. So it's going to be whether the young buck and El Lachey can have a go at him.
Hello guys, yeah, you are on board with me on the grid, not far from the start. I'm not sure I'm really looking forward for the start actually, because it's always a bit tricky in the streets of Villarreal, like it happened last year with kind of a mess. But still, we had a good quali. I can match the Hyundai in front of me, so I'm quite pleased about this. And I think we have a good link and co to challenge them for the victory this time. So I hope, like, all of you, everybody, will enjoy this race, watching it. We will try to make the best out of it, and let's see. Villarreal is never easy. It's quite hot in the car. It's a street track, quite narrow and stuff. I would say maybe I would prefer to sit in the sofa, actually, like you are doing, guys. But maybe I will be happy about being on the podium later on. So that's the target, and see you at the finish. Thank you.
Well, right from the very first day we met Jan El Lachey a few seasons ago in Marrakesh, he very much puts his heart on his sleeve, doesn't he? Tells you exactly how it is. Not looking forward necessarily to the race. Norbert Michels on DHL pole, ahead of Augusto Farfus in another Hyundai. Then El Lachey, a great single lap effort from him in his Lincoln Co to go ahead of Rob Huff, who started on pole in race 1 last year. Martin Qua, phenomenal effort from the Chinese driver, back here after a 3-year absence in his Alfa ahead of Nicky Katzberg, and Aurelian Panis, the fastest of the Cupras, ahead of Johan Kristoffersen, one of our 2 first-time winners last time out. Ted Björk, he is 9th on the grid ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. Jean-Carl Vernet and Van Muller on row 6 of the grid, ahead of Nestor Girolami and Tiago Montero, the local hero, racing here for the first time in a couple of seasons. Andy Prio in 15th, ahead of Esteban Guerrieri, the championship leader, struggling in qualifying all the way down in 16th. Mikael Ashkana and Niels Langerfeldt on row 9 of the grid, ahead of Benny Leuschner and Gordon Shedner. And then we get into penalty territory, no fewer than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 penalties applied to the grid. Tom Coronel was due to start last. Since lunch, he's moved up from 26th to 21st, because there's a penalty for Attila Tashi, for Mehdi Banani, an engine change for Frederick Vervish. Kevin Chacon had a 10-place grid pace spot drop, and Daniel Hegloff also picks up a penalty. There was a Parc Fermé infringement on his car, and he was dropped to the very last place on our 26-car grid. That is how they will line up for race 1 here in Villarreal. Well, you'll see a lot of branding around the circuit with 50 in it. This is the 50th race weekend here in Villarreal. And Matt Neal, they've been running on this circuit, not continuously, but since the 1950s, when street circuits were all the rage and even more dangerous than they are now.
Yeah, it's a real carnival atmosphere here. The whole town embraces the racing. It's it's great to be a part of it. They really sort of, they try and make the best of it, because you've got road closures and noise, and which would other be frowned on in a lot of other European cities. But these guys really get into it from the start.
It's a big festival. It's been going on longer than a lot of the residents have been around in the town, that's for sure. And so there's Gabriele Tarquini, new hairstyle. Not sure it suits him entirely. I prefer him with the bone dome. He'll start in 10th place on the grid, one of 2 Hyundais who tore their wings off, the car hitting a tyre stack in the final chicane on the track. The other one was his teammate, Nicky Katzberg, who starts in 6th. They both went out then with repaired cars and set even quicker laps. Ted Björk, 9th place. He did have the qualifying lap record because he was the fastest man in Q3 last year, but both of our front row starters have gone quicker than that. Ted in 9th place, Ivan Muller in 12th, and Andy Prio in 15th, just a few hundredths of a second behind. So we don't have a clump of blue this week like we did, particularly for races 2 and 3 in the Nordschleife, where all 4 Lynk & Co cars were in consecutive grid spots. They are spread around a little further, but I think all 3 of the Lynk & Co drivers behind him have their hats off for the superlative job Jan Ehrlichet produced. He was quite outstanding with his qualifying lap. And Matt, all the cars at the sharp end of the grid, it's a proper brave lap that gets you those times here.
Yeah, Ehrlichet, he's, you know, he just loves driving, and all the others say it. You know, he's always full of beans. So it's unusual for him to say that he's a bit sort of nervous about the race ahead.
Busy grid, busy grandstands, and an hour of frantic autograph session at lunchtime here in Villarreal. Steady on, lad, you might need that. The only nut loose we need on this car is the one behind the wheel. Prum, tish.
As long as it's not missing off the driver.
This is Johan Christophersen. No, I know, I think you need your nuts definitely around here. Johan Christophersen for Volkswagen. He and Benny Leuchter both claimed their first race win in WTCR last time out at the Nordschleife. Johan on the reverse grid. He was the DHL pole sitter for race 2, and Benny Leuchter for race 3, and both of them drove away from the opposition. The Golf was a very quick car, and they did a really nice job. Nils Langeveld, a long way further back on the grid than he would like. He's in 18th position in the Audi, despite some pretty heroic stuff in qualifying. First time here for him, first time ever on the track for 9 of our 26 drivers. Thiago hasn't raced here for a couple of years. Ma for 3 years, 4, starting to lose track now of when the last Citroen was here, 3 years. So, yeah, there's a few rookies and a couple who have not got a lot of recent experience. 7th on the grid, Aurélien Panis, great run in his Cupra, and Tom Coronel, who has had no luck but bad, definitely looking at the speed in the Frenchman's car and thinking, yeah, without the wretched luck he's enduring, Coronel could have been challenging to get into the top 6 as well, and maybe tomorrow go through into Q3. Of course, it is a new day tomorrow, but Tom needs to shake off the bad luck somehow. We expected the Cupras and the Hondas perhaps to struggle a little against the pace of Hyundai and Volkswagen here, and that has proved to be the case. Best Honda on the grid, Nestor Girolami in 13th. Best Cupra and only one in the top 12 is Aurélien Panis. But the Hyundais have been quick again. Nicky Katzberg produced not 1, not 2, but several really quick laps. And he ends up on the outside of row 3 of the grid. And that's sort of about as far forward of the danger zone.
It could have very easily been a Hyundai 1, 2, 3, couldn't it? Yeah. If he hadn't got his fastest laps.
Well, him and Gabrielli as well.
Taken off for knocking tyre stacks back. So, yeah, it's going to be seeing if he can move forward. It's notoriously hard to overtake around this track, hence the Joker lap, which we haven't really sort of mentioned too much this afternoon. But, you know, it's whether, and that brings a new tactic in, whether drivers are going to take it early, take it late, bank for a safety car. So it's going to bring in a fresh thing. And it's whether some of these quick boys who are slightly out of position can make progress through the grid.
Yeah, some slightly out, some a long way out. Fredrik Vervish, 2 second places and a 5th last time out. He starts in 24th. Kevin Chacon down in 25th in the Alpha. Teammate Ma is 5th after a great qualifying run, but 10-place grid penalty and more penalties for Kevin Chacon. And at the tail of the field, Daniel Hegloff, and again his teammate, normally well up with Daniel towards the top 10, but Michael Ashkanar, first time ever here, 17th place. And Ashkanar and Daniel, I talked to them, they're both newbies here, 2 rookies, wide-eyed with the pressure of this street circuit, and they're saying this is definitely tougher than the Nordschleife. Martin Quar returning to the series here after racing with Citroën, of course, in the TC1 era of World Touring Car Championship, and a great qualifying lap. It's a proper virtuoso job here, Matt Neal, isn't it? You know, you can have the car and the balance and the tyres and everything else, but you've really got to hang out on the ragged edge and then catch a break in traffic as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've just come from Nürburgring Nordschleife, which, you know, you speak to any driver who's driven there or whatever, and it's probably one of the most scariest tracks on. This is why part of the attraction of it. These guys come here and they say they're almost more scared of this place than they are of the Nordschleife, well, which takes some saying.
They're even closer to the accident, and the average speeds are pretty high here as well, aren't they? You saw Esteban Guerrieri strapping into his car. He'll start in 16th, 1 place out of even a single point. Rob Huff will start in 4th position.
But you're on about luck. There's one person who needs some luck. It's this guy, isn't it?
Well, there are a few, you know. I mean, yeah, Rob does need a break. Had a decent race weekend shaping up at the Nordschleife, and then contact with Gabriele Tarquini in race 2 put him out on the spot, so his Saturday earned him nothing.
Yeah, some of the Audi guys, Christopherson, and they've been coming to the fore now, but Huffy has been the sort of lead exponent, the lead challenge for VW last year and this year, and he's just, for whatever reason, he's been there and gone for the moves, and they just haven't worked out.
And the irritating thing now is 2 of his teammates have won races as well. So it's Rob Huff with 0 wins, 0 poles so far this season. Yann Erlaché, 3rd place, lying 11th in the standings. All of these drivers at the front, Erlaché, Farfus, Huff, Marr, Katzberg, Panis, Christopherson, they're really not challenges for the championship, or not yet, or not at the moment, let's say. Alan Gow just there on the grids, the man who runs the British Touring Car Championship and is also in charge of the touring car delegation at the FIA. But Augusto Farfus on the outside of the front row of the grid. Real high-pressure job, more high pressure than being the pole man, because he is the guy who, like Mehdi Benani last year, could tangle with his teammate if he gets a better start. And at the front of this field, we know exactly what that might mean. So whatever else, he and Norby will have sat down and said, we have got to, A, keep everybody else behind, but B, survive the first few corners and make it through lap 1 at the very least.
Well, with 4 Hyundais, 2 pairings, these are actually in 2 different pairings.
Yes.
So, and there's got to be a little bit of niggle between the 2 pairings. They are a big family, but, you know, everyone wants to finish on top. They've got to play the party game, but I'm sure that's going to be in the back of the mind. The one curveball is it's a standing start.
Yes.
Off a standing start, anything can happen. I mean, they've got some sophisticated start procedures in these cars now, but this is what just... It played into the bad hands of what happened last year, you know, with Huffy and Mehdi, so...
Exactly. A rolling start, you're going to get there faster, but you're less likely perhaps to get there quite as much of an imbalance. Norbert Michaelis lying 2nd in the championship on pole position. Our points leader, Esteban Guerrieri, who is 45 in front, starts in 16th. So if they finished where they start, Norby would close the gap to 20 points. However, rarely on a street circuit does everyone finish, and certainly not where they start necessarily. Hola, buenos dias. Oh no, bom dia, that's what we say here.
I mean, the ominous thing for Guerrieri, Martin, is that his Honda just doesn't seem to have been on the pace at all this weekend. So if Michelin's can have a strong day today and again tomorrow, unless Guerrieri can find some sort of magic potion out of...
It's not just his, because Tashi and Thiago and Nestor Girolami are all clumped together. Remember I talked about the blue clump in the middle of the grid last time out? The Lincoln Co's? Well, it's the Hondas bang in the middle. Here's your grid then. Michaelis and Farfus, Erlaché and Huff, Marr and Katzberg, Panis and Christopherson, then Björk and Tarquini, Verne and Muller, Girolami and Monteiro, Prio ahead of Guerrieri, and Ashkanar and Langeveld on row 9. Row 10, is Leuchter and Shedden, and then we get into penalty corner behind Tom Coronel, who should have started 26th. We have Tashi and Benani and Vervish and Chacon and Hegloff. Vervish taking a precautionary engine change, nothing necessarily enormously wrong with it. He qualified so far back, why not? And in fact, he didn't drop in the end to the very back because Chacon and Hegloff had subsequent penalties applied. So that is your grid. They are on their final formation lap around this Villarreal street circuit. 48 degrees of track temperature, and with relatively clear skies, that is not going to fade anytime soon. Lots and lots of cars, Matt, having brand new brakes fitted for the race after qualifying, because stopping these things is just as much of an issue as getting them round the corners.
Yeah, that's where the Hyundais, I mean, they're on pole, but that means it could shuffle it up. They are running the heaviest of all the cars out there, some 70, 80 kilos heavier than the Cupras and the VWs, so that's going to hurt the brakes. And we're talking about the high-speed elements of this track, but from the high speed, you've got to stop. We've got some pretty tight and twisty and bumpy and curby chicanes these guys have got to rattle through, all lined by concrete walls, which they've been, a few of them we're finding. We're on about Hyundai's losing wings through the tyre stacks. You know, the Lincoln Co's of Muller and Bjorg all had battle scars from brushes with the wall in qualifying, so it's they've got to hang it out.
So to be clear on the Joker lap, Frederick, we do it on lap 3 as soon as it opens. Unless you have 4 cars in front of you dying in there, you take the normal lap, you try to pass them, try to close the gap to the car in front and do the lap later, understand? Yeah, okay, okay.
Well, that was a lot to get through, but it's just confirming a conversation they've had, because the other thing that is so unique about coming here, well, it is unique, there isn't a definitive uniqueness, is the Joker lap. Once in each of the races, you have to take the Joker lap. So you'll have a plan based on where you are on the grid, where maybe you should be in terms of pace, whether you will take it early, and it has to be after the leader has completed 3 racing laps. Now, they don't have to be at speed. They could be behind a safety car, but at the end of the leader's 3rd lap, it opens. So there is a degree of strategy. Do you take it early and then try and use the clear air? Do you take it late and try and stay with your track position? Electric windows go up on Rob Huff's Golf as he sits on the grid. Cars forming up for the first race in Villarreal, the race weekend of Portugal, the 50th race weekend around the streets of this town, high up in the Douro Mountains to the northeast of Porto. And with 26 cars filling our grid, the car spaces are a little further apart than they were last year. It's Norbert Michelis, front and left in your picture, ahead of teammate Augusto Farfus, Jan Erlache and Rob Huff. 5 red lights will go on, and when they go out, we will be racing for the first time here in Villarreal. Away they go, good start from Farfus, good start from Michelis as well. Farfus gets in front of Erlache, Christopherson around the outside. Very slow getaway indeed from Ma Qinghua. The Chinese driver sinking like a stone, was 5th on the grid, probably 15th by now. He's going in reverse, but it's Michelis, Farfus and Erlache. And so far, there's Ma, trouble with Guerrieri. Guerrieri must avoid contact here. He's got to get in the points. His closest rival leads the field at the first chicane, Matt.
Michelis snags a right front into the first chicane. Just hope that didn't flat spot his front right tyre too much.
Guerrieri trying to pick up places. He's going a long way round the outside. Benny Leuchter trying to get by Ma as well. Sounds like Ma will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. Something has gone wrong with the Chinese driver's car. And Guerrieri ahead of Nils Lankeveld. They have both tried to work their way up the order. Looking back at Frederick Vervish. Vervish starting.
It's like they've fitted his gearbox in backwards and got 6 reverse gears in and 1 forward, but...
I wonder if he's broken a drive shaft or maybe pulled the centre out of the clutch at the start. Something's not going well. First lap of 11 on the streets of Villarreal. Norbert Michelic, the DHL pole sitter, running away from teammate and fellow front row starter Augusto Farfus, leaving Gusto to deal with the flying Jan Erlacher in the blue Lincoln Co car. The big loser at the start, Ma Xinhua, the Chinese driver, started 5th in the Alpha, is now back down in the low teens, late teens in fact. He's 19th at the last split. Everybody safely through the big second stop down the hill. And there is Rob Huff's Golf behind Jan Erlacher. Another gap back to Nicky Katzberg and Aurelien Panis with the yellow Cupra. But here is Huff shaping up to try and make a move on Erlacher for 3rd position.
Equal start for all the first 4 on the getaway, but Michelic has really, he's pulled the pin and he's going for it, while Farfus is finding his feet on lap 1. Michelic has just pinned his ear back and he's trying to make air.
Yeah, and Michelic has the advantage that he's left Farfus by a couple of car lengths, and Katzberg, Farfus has lots of problems from behind.
Trying to build a gap. Doing well. Okay.
So Nicky Katzberg trying to keep his nose in front of the yellow car of Aurelien Panis. Katzberg's in 5th.
Katzberg's got to be carrying some sort of a problem, I think, because he's literally a cork in the bottle as soon as he's...
and Farfus, don't forget how far Farfus is behind Michelic in what is basically an identical car prepared by an identical group of people. I wonder whether the 2 Lukoil drivers are both on elderly tyres, saving fresh sets for tomorrow. I mean, it's... Or they've just gone the wrong way on setup.
Martin, they could have gone for playing the long-term game. If they've set the car up fairly loose, thinking it's going to be hard on the front tyres with this heat round here, they could be struggling to hang on to them through this quick stuff, and then hopefully that will come back to them in the later stages of the race. And
maybe slightly lower tyre pressures early on, which doesn't give you the grip you want, but as you say, as the heat builds, helps to...
You look at that, you've got to be so accurate through that chicane, and you turning in there, I 100% tell you, you are turning in blind. If you're in that train, you see nothing of the front of the corner in front of you.
Look at them chinking around behind Katzberg. Let's hear from Ted Björk.
He's really holding us up to start to get the gap in front, so Katzberg really holding us up.
Okay, Ted, copy that. Farfus is doing the same for Michelic at the front as well.
Well, Katzberg's not defending Rob Huff's tail, he's defending his own position, which he's entirely entitled to do. But as you said, Matt, neither he nor Farfus have got the pace of, well, certainly not of Michelic. Tarquini's stuck in this queue right behind Ted Björk, and so he can't get by. There is Tarquini, car number 1, last year's champion.
This could turn, you're right, the next lap opens up, the first one they're allowed to do the Joker lap, and I can guarantee you that the guys lining up behind the 2 Lukoil Hyundais are going to be diving for that.
Will be the gap big enough? Not with all, but with behind to go the Joker next lap?
Yes, possibly with the gap behind Rob, we will look at Joker on the next lap. I'll tell you after this lap.
Well, that's the voice of Phil Barker, his... that's not Phil, but his race engineer, is it?
Kim Berry.
Kim Berry, yeah. Phil engineering Ted Björk. And Erlacher's asking, how far back is the queue led, is the peloton, basically? He's in a kind of quasi-breakaway. He wants to know that if he goes for the Joker lap, is he going to emerge in this massive string of cars?
If they commit to the Joker lap and Farfus and Katzberg going before them, they need to stay out.
Yeah.
They need to stay out.
So the plan will be, at the end of this lap, yes, you're far enough in front. If both the other 2 guys don't go in, you go in. If both of them go in, you stay out and maintain track position, because that will leave him then second, possibly, behind Michelic. And track position, at the end of it, he'll have a clear road in front. Nobody will be dropping in front of him. Norby is also trying to build the margin. Norby already 3 seconds clear.
Push a little bit, Norby. At the end of this lap, Joker lap.
Okay, so they're going to send Norby immediately. Now...
That's a sensible move. Yeah. That's a sensible move.
Erlacher is dropping back a little too much from Augusto Farfus.
but he has just set the fastest front sector of the race, Martin.
Okay, now we need to have a lock-off camera basically down at the roundabout, because Norby goes down the Joker lap with the roundabout on his right. Once and once only you do this. Air Lachey does not, but Farfus does and Huff does. So Air Lachey is now up to second and in clear-ish air behind Norby, but he's got to pass Norby to be able to win the race. Muller has done his Joker lap, so too has...
Panis has jumped in.
Panis. Guerrieri's done his as well. Well, that makes sense for Guerrieri. Get it done early. Lots and lots of Joker laps going on, actually.
Now, the risk of the guys who aren't taking it is if there's a safety car or something like that, because they lose all that advantage.
Exactly right.
So it's the safe element is to take it as early as possible, but unless you're tactically trying to get past someone.
And if you're the leader, like Norby, and you've managed to go away like a coiled spring, then you're made in the shade.
Can I Joker the next lap? Yeah, this is not enough, so keep pushing, keep pushing.
Well, now that the race has settled down after the first 2 or 3 laps, the chances of a safety car are greatly reduced, but they're not nil. They're never nil.
That's a mistake. They need to get him in and get him out before Air Lachey gets... I mean, he's set the fastest front sector again. His guys are not being on the ball there.
No. The problem for Katzberg is he's not far enough ahead. Sure, Panis went in, but Kristoffersen is now close behind him, only 1.5 seconds. So they guarantee they're going to give away a place to that Golf and to Ted Bjerk behind, and maybe Tarquini and Panis. That's where Panis came out, behind Tarquini, so that's effectively how far back Katzberg would drop.
Oh, Air Lachey is really closing on.
Jan Air Lachey.
He took 3/10 out of Michelitz in the first sector, another 10th in the second sector.
But he knows that Norby's done the Joker lap and Air Lachey hasn't, so Air Lachey must pass Norby and drive away by nearly 4 seconds ahead of Michelitz, not Farfus, not Huff, to try and win the race. Now Air Lachey goes, so he's going to lose ground to Farfus, or is he? Farfus was in front, Air Lachey's pushing, and that is a big old bust to try and get by for the Hyundai driver. So Air Lachey did it well. He really judged that well. Now, I don't know whether the engineer said, yes, go, or whether he went, I'm going, damn it.
That's close, and it's given up a run on Farfus as well.
So Farfus, net loss of 1 place, and Tarquini is off. And is that Tiago? It is Tiago. So Tarquini and Tiago Monteiro are both off. Yellow flags are out. Oh, and Gabrielli couldn't make the corner, a little bit.
No, I think
like
that was Tiago turning in on the back of Gabrielli. What? Oh, no, he didn't.
Well, he didn't make the corner. Gabrielli went straight on, and Montero was stuffed into the barriers.
Why?
Yep.
That might be Tiago turning into the back of Gabrielli, and it stops you turning.
Yep.
So...
Or just going in a fraction deep on brakes. I mean, brakes are an issue, they always are. Grip is an issue here. Well, we'll wait and see. Now, Augusto Farfus, don't forget, when we were in Zandvoort, pulled over on the last lap out of the Arie Luyendyk curve to allow Norbert Michels to go through and grab another place and some more points, because Augusto is not a championship contender and Norby could be. Now, clearly, he was riding shotgun there behind Norby to try and allow Norby to get away. And that's a really good tactic from the management of the 2 teams of Hyundai cars. They had a golden opportunity to get their man in the hunt. Now, somebody just went straight across the chicane. Who's in front of Katzberg and Bjerk? It was Johan Kristoffersen in the Golf, straight through the chicane. Now, he's going to have to take a Joker lap this time round, I think, as Johan hasn't gone through, nor has Ted Bjerk, and nor has Tiago, but he won't now unless he has rejoined somewhere.
Here's Bjerk going for his Joker lap.
Well, I think they've all gone. Yeah, there's Bjerk. So Kristoffersen, now...
Doesn't cost him much, but it costs him enough just to make a difference.
Well, he's now back behind Panis and back behind Katzberg, so he's in the queue where he was, except there's no Johan Kristoffersen, because Kristoffersen has stayed out. Air Lachey now caught by Farfus, or still not dropping Farfus, so that gives you an indication now of Farfus's lap pace.
Or the Hyundai's lap pace, because Michelitz It's interesting. Michelitz, he's looking handsome for a big bunch of points now. 4 seconds up the road. Championship rival Esteban Guerreri languishing in 15th place at the moment.
Norby's last lap, Norby's fastest lap, 2 minutes 03 and 19 thousandths. Norby's last lap, 2 minutes 03 and 20 thousandths. So his fastest lap and his last race lap are 1,000th of a second apart. Just tell me, how is that even conceivably possible on a circuit like this? That's just ridiculous pace he's showing.
That's consistency.
God.
He's in the zone, Martin.
No, there is no question
Interesting,
of
there's
that.
different attributes, because Air Lachey, through the first half of the lap, he pulls some margin on Farfus, and they, through the technical section, they seem to be able to pull him back, Farfus and Huffy.
Yeah. Well, again, watch the Hyundai, watch the Golf, and watch the blue cars over the bumps, and for that matter, the Cupra or the Honda. The Hyundai, especially down here, actually the Cupra wasn't so bad that time, but when they're hanging it out, the Lincoln Co, the Cupra, the Honda, the tail is very, very...
Just going back to Esteban Guerreri, he could do quite well. He's in 15th. The 3 guys in front of him, Marquincois, Azcona and Andy Preau, they haven't done the Joker lap yet, and there's not a lot of margin in it, so he could be able to get up a bit of time.
Yeah, definitely right.
Yeah, Ted, you need to push on a bit and close the gap to Panis, okay, to deny Christopherson when he does his Joker. You can get the gap a bit closer to Panis.
Tarquini in the pit lane after that contact with Thiago Monteiro. Monteiro is running around in 25th place. This isn't going to be a winning day for him at home. Preau takes his Joker lap, so that gives a spot to Guerrieri instantly.
There won't be a lot of margin in that, Martin. He'll be right behind him.
Michelitz 4.3 seconds up the road from Jan Air Lachey. Air Lachey 9/10 ahead of Farfus, who's half a second ahead of Huff. You can see that kind of 2 car lengths compared to 4 car lengths gap. And then way back, 2 seconds further back, is Johan Christopherson. He'll lose another 3.5 seconds, which will put him 5 seconds back. That should put him behind Björk and just in front of Ivan Muller, if Björk can push.
Keep going if you can. 5 laps to go. 5 laps to go.
All right. Well, Jan Air Lachey, we heard after qualifying, had his oil warning light on the dash on his car, and he went, right, I don't care. Final lap of qualifying, it's all or nothing. And if the engine blows, it blows, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And
yeah, the only problem with that for Guerreri is if he has to have an engine change, then he's the back of the grid for both the races tomorrow.
Well, if he stops now and still has to have an engine change, then he's thrown away 2 races. He's got to press on now. If it blows, it blows.
Yeah.
You have to try and... He's only going to get 2 points, but it might be the 2 that win him a championship at the end of the year. You know, right now, it's 17 points the margin. When the race started, it was 45. Seeing a replay of the start.
Absolute equal.
Mars start.
All 4
Shocker.
up front. It's like his selects reversed, isn't it?
Yeah. And Air Lachey sees the door being closed. That will have come as no surprise to him. With Ashkenar, a little bit too much wheel spin, but he goes by Esteban Guerrieri without any problem at all there. Guerrieri got a pretty woeful start.
Oof, Martin, Air Lachey's taken 9/10 of a second out of Norby on that last lap.
Fastest race lap for Jan Air Lachey, 2 minutes 2.879. Going to go back to my piece of paper that has my records on it, if I can find it. The race lap record here is a 2 minute 2.964. It's now 2 minute 2.879. So that is a new race record for Jan Air Lachey. And whatever his 3 teammates are doing in Lincoln Co, Ted Björk's 8th, Ivan Muller's 9th, and Andy Preau is in 14th. Jan Air Lachey in 2nd place is absolutely flying ahead of the Farfus-Huff combo.
Only 2 drivers in the 2 minute 2s at the moment, and that's Air Lachey and Rob Huff, who's now all over the back of Farfus.
Yep. The Hyundais are still in the 203s. Nicky Katzberg, 203.1. Panis, 203.2. He's kind of bottled up. Ted Björk is there as well. So when is Johan Kristoffersson going to do his Joker lap? And the answer has to be last possible opportunity. He's got to try and give himself as much chance as he can to creep away from Katzberg, Panis, Björk and Muller. And if he doesn't have enough advantage over Björk, there is a big gap back of nearly 4 seconds to Ivan Muller. So Kristoffersson, 5th at the moment in the Golf, would drop back to either 8th or 9th. Let's hear from Mikael Ashkona.
Joker, Mikael, Joker, 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 Joker.
In we go. This is a great... Ooh, gets in too deep. Meanwhile, that was Ted Björk and Johan Kristoffersson, who's just done his Joker lap, and Björk couldn't deny the Golf the place to come back in, so it was very close. Ted really pushed hard, but Johan just had enough to get his nose in front. So Kristoffersson in 7th. Only dropped 2 spots. That's why he did it late. He still had 3 more laps to go, so he could have done it then. So who has still to go in? Kevin Chacon.
Kevin Chacon's the only one now.
Ashkona has now done his. We just saw that, although it doesn't show on your timing pylon. Chacon in 19th, the last man to go in. Kristoffersson holding off Ted Björk. And that's Guerrieri versus Prio. What's happening with Guerrieri? Is that the end of his engine? Looks like it might be. Out front is his closest championship rival. 45 points before this race. In 3 laps from now, it could be down to 20.
Yeah, Michelitz has responded to Air Lachey now.
Yeah.
So we're back to a status quo, sort of high 3 seconds gap between them.
And in fact, Norby 3/10 quicker than Jan last time round. No points for fastest race lap. What it does do, though... Oh, Guerrieri dropping further back. Past goes Vervish and Tashi and Banani. So that is 20th, 21st and 22nd now, that battle, with Guerrieri down to 23rd.
Esteban desperately trying to hustle that
car
can't
get it stopped either.
Smells like that's slowly seizing.
Yeah.
Just the engine will be tightening.
Well, if the engine doesn't blow up, keep going to the end, there might be wholesale disqualifications. You never, ever know, but it ain't going fast in a straight line. Vervish threaded the eye of the needle. Ooh, there, didn't he? Do you know what? I'm not sure it's engine.
No, that's engine.
Well, that big slide?
That's because I think he shocked them not coming out the corner fast enough.
Maybe so. Well, he's going to hang on to the back of this little train as long as he can. If you're going to have to change it anyway, you may as well take the checkered flag. 2 laps to go for the leaders and everybody else now. Mikael Ashkona still... Oh, no, he has been shown now as having taken the Joker lap. He's done his. Who else were we missing who hadn't done it? Kevin Chacon, they've all done them now. So everybody has done their Joker laps. Norbert Mikulich leads by 3.2 seconds from Jan Erlaché. Augusto Farfus in 3rd. And what Mikulich does not need now is a Jack Brabham, Ayrton Senna, Monaco moment where he dozes off and plants it in the barriers.
He also doesn't need a safety car or anything like anybody else who dozes off and puts it in.
Yeah, no, that's a very valid point. Yeah, give Erlaché 2nd place and 1 lap to take the lead. I think the gloves will be right off. Farfus 3rd, Huff in 4th.
Shadowing Farfus all the way. He fancies that final podium spot, and the Golf's looking racy.
And he wants to put pressure on Farfus to try and somehow unstitch Farfus's command of the front-wheel drive Hyundai. Don't forget, look how wild the back of Tashi's car is. He turned in there and the back was just carrying straight on into the vineyards. And Shedden's as well, really loose at the back. Mar behind Ashkona. And where's that? That's the battle for 13th from Mar. He's in 14th at the moment. Ashkona in 13th. Ashkona started 17th on the grid, Mar 5th. So that's the way their races have gone, respectively. And we were it was being suggested to us Ashkenar may have jumped the chicane on maybe the exit of the Joker lap and might have to do it again. I'm not sure whether he has or whether his trip through the Joker lap has been allowed to stand, but whatever it is, at the moment he's in 13th. Augusto Farfus, like the rest of them now on the last lap. Farfus in that number 8 Hyundai with Rob Huff with the Union flag on his roof all over the back of him in the Gulf, but Matt finding a way by here.
No, I think it's pretty status quo, as long as no one makes a mistake, easy said. The one shame is that, like Mars, he's circulating well now.
Yep.
If he hadn't had that problem at the start, then it would have been great to see him sort of shuffling around with these guys at the front to see how the Alpha shaped up in comparison.
Yep. Really would, really would. I mean, could have been first podium of the season potentially for an Alpha. We'll have to wait and see what happens in tomorrow's qualifying, because 5th fastest in qualifying today, if he can do that again tomorrow, then he'll be in the single car shootout in Q3, and then all bets are off. Anything could happen. We've seen cars crashing in Q3 here before now. Norbert Michelis, the leader, gaps down under 3 seconds to El Haché, but he's not in danger. Final hurdle is this last chicane. He avoids the tyres, avoids the wall on the exit. It's still not done. You're piling on the speed downhill, and this is very steep downhill. The last couple of corners off camber, you're on the wrong side of the road. The same is true for Jan El Haché, but he's the one chasing, not the one trying to tuck this one away. In the nervous 90s, now he sees the checkered flag. Norbert Michelis comes across the line to take his 2nd win of the season and dramatically change the face of the points table. A huge result for Jan El Haché. Lincoln in 2nd place. Augusto Farfus 3rd. As they stream across the line, Prio in 12th there, ahead of Ashkenar and Mar. Niels Langeveld gets the final point. Ahead of Benny Loister, Gordon Shedden, Tom Coronel, Kevin Chacon, and the rest of them. Well, the good news is we got away without the dramas of last year. Thiago Monteiro is actually going to finish this race ahead of Esteban Guerrieri. Guerrieri 24th with Heglev behind him 25th. And only one car fails to make it through, that of Gabriele Tarquini, who pitted early on after that issue where he ran straight on at that chicane into the barriers. Don't think it was a big hit, but I think he had lost his brakes there. And he pitted at the end of the lap. Norbert Michelis then, our race winner, with teammate Augusto Farfus on the podium in 3rd. Was well worked out by Jan El Haché to take the Joker when he did. He had just enough steam to move up into 2nd place. But our happy winner was never in doubt.
Well done, well done. Thanks to all of you.
Norby, bravissimo, bravissimo.
Guerrieri is out of points, and so 25 points gain. Well done, well done.
And at a slash, the first race of the weekend, suddenly Norby is within touching distance of the points leader.
And he's looking strong, Martin.
Yep.
Yeah, he's looking really, as are all the Hyundais. They're looking very strong.
Look, if Guerrieri had qualified in the top 6 or 7 and then had an engine issue, okay, fine, that's one thing. If he has to change the engine, he's going to be starting right at the back, way out of the points for race 2. That makes it a 0-0. And then only if they've got any qualifying pace does he stand a chance in race 3. Norby, if tomorrow goes like today, could end up walking away from here with the points lead. It's very early days yet, and I really don't want to say anything out of order on this circuit of all, but the Hyundai is quick. Of that, there is no question. Ted Björk, not really going to be a huge factor this weekend, but Norby, this could be a very big weekend for him.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. Yeah, it took quite a lot of risk with the Joker lap to overtake Augusto, and we made it. I told you I would be really pleased to see you again for a podium spot, and we just made it. So really happy about this. Thank you to the team. They make a really good job. I'm really happy about what we achieved so far. Okay, it's not finished. We have to do it again tomorrow, but that's a good start. Happy to score another podium, and yeah, see you at the podium. Thank you.
Hard for May from the DHL pole to the Yokohama winners cap. Norbert Mikulits, a flawless race, Matt Neal.
Yeah, it was from lights to flag, wasn't it? This Air Lachey we were hoping was going to give him a bit of a run for his money, and he did. He piled the pressure on in sort of the back end of the first third, and then Norby responded, and then it was sort of a bit of a status quo. It's hard to overtake around here. You know, it's so tight, so fast. That's why the Joker lap was introduced. It did work today. You know, we saw some shuffling around for positions. But I think Air Lachey can be very pleased with his job. He's got some pretty prestigious teammates, which you know, he's outshining at the moment. But he's just full of beans. He just loves driving. He's full of enthusiasm. It's the first time I've seen him yesterday without a massive big grin on his face, and I think it was from nerves. So there'll be an element of relief getting there and getting a good podium, and I think there'll be an element of relief for a lot of these guys getting to the end all in one piece round here.
And with it goes the confidence of having done the job, knowing that it all works well when you apply yourself, and yes, that really works well for him. Yeah, he will be breathing a sigh of relief, definitely. Norby's co-conspirator in victory, though, you're looking at there, Augusto Farfus. Augusto got second in qualifying, so he's on the outside the front row, got his nose in front of Jan Air Lachey, and allowed Norby to go away to open up a big enough margin to take his Joker lap without coming under a real threat from the Lincoln.
Another interesting one, Martin. I mean, at the beginning of the year, where was Norby? He was nowhere, and suddenly, out of nowhere, he's just appeared.
Yep, absolutely right. Well, this is his second pole, it's his second win, but there is Augusto Farfus. So Farfus, another podium for him. Now, he's not a million miles out of it. He is 10th in the championship's rankings coming in here, but with 99 points compared to 215 of Esteban Guerrieri. So, you know, that 116-point margin really means that when he was a BMW driver, he understands the way the game is played. You know, you support the guy with the best chance, and in seasons gone by, it was him that had all the support from his teammates, and he is happy to play the supporting role as well, particularly if you end up on the podium too.
Has the approval of the big dog, Andre Adamo.
Yep.
So if you get that approval, you're not in bad shape with the Hyundai.
Well, 1-2 in qualifying and 1-3 on the grid, not bad. But third in qualifying and second in the race for Jan Air Lachey. That is a standout effort by the young Frenchman. Let's join Alex Legui and our race winner.
Taking his second win of the FIA World Touring Car Cup 2019 season, Norby Mikulits. That was a very good, very clean race. Helped a little bit by your teammate who managed to keep the pack back for you. Otherwise, very good.
Yeah, I mean, after qualifying, I knew that we have the car today to win. Nevertheless, I pushed 100%, as you could see in the first couple of laps. And yeah, thanks to Augusto, because he did it very nicely in a very clever way. And I think for me, in the second part of the race, it was just about managing the proper gap. Nevertheless, it wasn't easy, but I'm really happy with the win and, of course, the points.
Yes, exactly. I know that you don't, and you're always like, it's a long game, but I believe you're now down to about 14 points behind Esteban, so that's not a bad place to be as we head into the summer break.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to wait and see what happens tomorrow, but always to take this amount of points out of the leader, I mean, is a nice feeling, but on a circuit like this, tomorrow a lot of things can happen. Yep. Anyway, my target for the championship is not to let the first run away with more than 30 or 40 points. Thanks.
Big move in favour of Norbert Mikulits in the standings, from 45 back, which is, you know, 2 full race wins, all but, to 20 back. That's a big...
do you think there was any tactics in there in Farfus holding him back? I don't think there would be, because You reckon?
Yep. Well, Augusto gave him a place.
He just cruised it.
Augusto gave him a place for 4th or 5th or 6th or whether it was out of the final corner up to the checkered flag in Zandvoort. Already, he's shown, yeah, no, you can do that. Right, now, then it wasn't for podium, but yes, he protected his teammate and gave him the best chance to break away.
Yeah, Andre Adamo was particularly cuddly with Farfus at the end. So
well, why wouldn't you be? He was on the podium. He's done a great job. You know, he hasn't driven a front-wheel drive touring car in a decade. Why wouldn't you? He's really, and Andre would have been just as thrilled if it was Nicky Katsberg or, you know, or Gabriele Tarquini. There's no doubt about that. But the fact that Farfus definitely allowed Norby to get away, Augusto was not racing for himself at that stage.
Yeah, it's a shame
because he could have attacked Norby.
He's had such a rough start to the year because he'd be up there, wouldn't he? And he's a threat. He has speed.
Again, he could be starting to creep into the equation and possibly at the expense of Uncle Ivan Muller as well. Really, really tight in the midfield, outside the top half dozen in points. It's such a dogfight. Fantastic stuff. Race 1 of the FIA Wtcr here in Villarreal. Dreadful start for 5th fastest qualifier, Marcin Kwa, the Chinese driver, barely moving in the Alfa Romeo and lucky not to be collected by anybody at all. Esteban Guerrieri, our points leader, qualified down in the minor teens and got swamped at the start as well. It was not to be a good race for the Argentine. Out front, Norbert Michelisz running away from teammate Augusto Farfus, so much so that he was able to take Joker at the first possible opportunity. Jan Ehrlichie stayed out in second ahead of Farfus and then started to try and reel in the leader. Farfus had issues of his own. Rob Hufford followed him through the Joker lap. When Ehrlichie took his, it got very close indeed for second. Farfus with a head of steam, and Ehrlichie carved across his bows, leaving them both just enough room to survive. That could have been a big 3-car accident if he hadn't. Gabriele Tarquini mistake putting him out of the race and also costing Thiago Monteiro any chance of a good result at home in the Honda. And then Esteban Guerrieri complained that the engine was going off tune and dropped out of the points and right to the tail of the field as his closest points rival claimed 25, slashing the advantage from 45 to 20 with race 1 of 3 completed.
20 seconds.
Great qualifying effort from Augusto Farfus to go second on the grid ahead of this man, Jan Ehrlichie, but Ehrlichie reversed that result in race 1. The podium awaits for our top 3. Race 1 of 3 here in Villarreal, the 50th race meeting held on the streets of this Portuguese town.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podium of our first race here, the FIA World Touring Car Cup by Wtcr in Villarreal. Please welcome onto the podium in 3rd position from BRC Hyundai N Lukoil Racing Team, it's Augusto Farfus. From Cyan Performance Lincoln Co. in 2nd position, it's Jan Ehrlichie. And your winner from BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse, it's Norby Michelisz. Representing BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse, it's David Johnson. And now the national anthem for both Norby Michelisz and BRC Hyundai N Squadra
Squadra Corse. Antonio Coutinho will present the third position trophy to BRC Hyundai N Lukoil Racing Team's Augusto Farfus. Jorge Almeida, the president of CAVR, will present the second position trophy to Cyan Performance Lincoln Co.'s Jan Erlache.
CAVR, Club Automobile Villarreal, the organisers of the weekend.
Miguel Pinto, the general manager of Continental Villarreal, will present the winning driver trophy to BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse's Norby Michelitz. The CEO of Antonio Coutinho, will now present the winning team trophy to BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corse's David Johnson. Please come together for your official photograph.
Coutinho, a big car dealer here in town, a little bit like Bristol Street Motors was sort of on the front and centre of the Birmingham Super Prix. Their dealership is right opposite the pit lane, or one of their dealerships in town.
Ready? Let's party!
Everybody smells like a winner. And Norby Michelitz, well, after 25 points in the race and 5 points for pole position, outscores Esteban Guerrieri by 30 points. The championship lead has gone from 45 to 15, with potentially a day more hurt for the Argentine tomorrow. Well, tomorrow we will have qualifying again in the morning, the three-part qualifying, followed by races 2 and 3. And a chance for Norby Michelitz and for BRC Hyundai N Squadra Corsa, a team of he and Gabriele Tarquini, to further close down the points leads. And Michelitz could easily leave Villarreal with the lead in his pocket.
driving in, so it's okay. Scoring good points, but thanks to them, they are really doing a good job. It's not easy, they are working hard, late, so yeah, this one is definitely, they are fully part of this one, so please.
Yeah, brilliant drive from Jan. Thank you very much. Congratulations on the podium. Quick word with Augusto before you run away. Another nice podium. Team tactics, talk us through it.
Yeah, we're a big family, you know. We have to work together for the same target. Norby did a brilliant job since day one here, since yesterday, so he's well deserved this victory. Very pleased again on the podium, getting used to it, so hopefully to have more to come. Need to thank the whole BRC family. We are really doing well, and you know, championship is long, we're still halfway, so many points to be collected.
Absolutely. Great stuff from BRC. Well done, boys. Thank you so much from all of us and the WTCR family, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.